This episode of the Fine Homebuilding Pro Talk podcast is brought to you by Andersen Windows. If you're a window installer, you deserve a simple choice: Andersen 400 Series windows. They're the windows contractors trust the most, based on a 2022 survey of U.S. contractors. Probably because they have fewer callbacks and extra peace of mind. And thanks to shortened lead times, they're available faster. Make your go-to windows Andersen 400 Series. Request a quote at andersenwindows.com.
It was a cool thing to work with your hands. And there was a lot of us that were building things. It was noble profession to build a house or build a boat. And I don't think that's there anymore.
Welcome to the Fine Homebuilding Pro Talk podcast, a regular discussion with building industry professionals. This is Senior Editor. Today I'm joined by Lister and former FHB Creative Director Bob Goodfellow. You can find the Fine Homebuilding Pro Talk podcast and the original Fine Homebuilding podcast at finebuilding/podcast. You can leave feedback and ask questions there too. Bob, it is great to talk to you and a true pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being
Patrick.
here.
How are you?
You know, I felt like when I called you out of the blue a couple days ago that we were able to pick up pretty much where we left off when you left Taunton a few years ago. I look forward to our interview, and I think folks are going to enjoy it too.
We'll see.
So we've known each other for a long time now and worked together for, I think, 8 or 9 years. When you were working for FHB, can you please explain the job of an art director to folks? Can you tell them what you did as a creative director and art director before that?
So you want me to just talk about the art director, what it's like to be an art director up there?
So like how we met in our interactions, and then that'll give folks context for the rest of our conversation, I think.
Well, I had been at Taunton for over 30 years. And finally, when you and I started working together, I had been been an art director there for I don't know how many years. I guess coming back 2001, 2002, and I had left, as you know, and then came back, and so we have been, I've been working at home building since then. So what's it like to be an art director? That's a huge question. Let's see if I can break it down. You were responsible for just about everything. And I would have to say, let's just start with the front of the book at the front covers. So you were responsible for what the image was going to be, whether it was going to be a photograph or an illustration, mostly photographs. Contact the photographer, discuss what kind of shot you wanted. This was also done in committee as well. It's not just left up to me. So you would get that done, and then you would start laying out the inside of the book, all the articles, and through development meetings that we would have a lot of, as you remember, and still do. We would come up with what was needed for that article, and then start to lay it out. And hopefully we had all the ingredients, and you tried to tell a story, which was through imagery, which was to tell a story beginning, a middle, and an end. That's about it.
And I think the important message is like the presentation, the beauty, the storytelling is largely the job of the art director at the Taunton Publications. Is that correct?
Yes. I mean, you had a design sense everybody's personal design sense, but through the years you develop a sense of your own and a style, and you always tried to push the envelope a little bit with how it looked. You didn't go too far, even though sometimes we did, It was just to put it back in perspective, it is a how-to building magazine. So sometimes we would try to get a little, let's just say, National Geographic look to it, or pull out all the big guns and a little bit of money. But at the same time, the perspective had to be get this done within budget, and at the same time make it look good. If that
More
answers your question.
recently, you have been, yeah, well, we'll get to more of that
Sure.
in a little bit. More recently, you've started working part-time as a lister in your town. Can you talk about that job and how you got it? Because I think that's a fun story.
Yes, I am. I'm working for a little small town in Vermont. It's actually a burb of a small town, so it's really small. I got the job by, well, basically,
Well, could you first tell folks what a lister does?
Okay, a lister goes around. You're sworn in. It's an official job. You go around with a tape measure, and you measure all new projects, a new addition, a new porch, even a new home. Take the measurements and go back, record those. There is actual program that we have from the state, and it's kind of like a poor man's SketchUp, and you draw the perimeters or whatever of the place, and that basically kind of spits out, depending on what it is, an appraisal, or how much that would be increasing your taxes. So in my case, this property had been foreclosed on. The poor woman had paid way too much.
The house you're living in, we should tell folks.
It was a foreclosure, and it was every pipe blew up, and there was nothing left. The furnace was gone. Everything. It was basically a big dumpster, and so I moved in. I got things done, and moved in enough where my taxes were. The old appraisal was way too high, so I had to call in and make a grievance, and that is that you want your taxes changed, or you don't think that that's appropriate what they have you down for. And this was during COVID, so there wasn't any going in and talking to the people at the town hall. So this was done over the phone, and the head lister, Peter, who I work with now, I had to write a letter, did that. Anyways, Peter and I talked on the phone, and I said, I think the property value is too much. We talked a little bit about why and what I've done to the place. In our conversations about what I've done, he realized, something about building. And I said, well, yes, I used to be the art director at Fine Homebuilding. He goes, oh, I know that magazine. And he said, how would you like to become a lister? And I kind of said, what's a lister and what do you do for that? He explained it. And then I said, I'm not sure I really want to do that. So, and then I'm wondering, well, is this going to affect my taxes if I say no? And it turns out it didn't. But Peter kept hounding me, week after week. And then I finally said, it was like, come in and I'll give you the rundown. And I finally volunteered for that. Next thing you know, you're hooked and you're working at the town. And you're supposed to be sworn in, which we were, but it was kind of done on a COVID basis. But anyways, it was interesting. So there I am. I'm out there measuring houses, and sometimes in the snow.
Okay, so let's talk about the run-up in real estate values in Vermont and everywhere else.
Very much so.
I'm guessing you are pretty busy with people who are making calls to you or have made changes to their homes because they're working from home now or what have you. Can I guess that they're shocked by their new tax assessment?
I guess we got to maybe back up a little bit. There wasn't, from what we did, measuring houses, and were their taxes influenced by what they were building and adding on to? Not that much. What was shocking was the price of real estate going up and doubling. So Peter, being more of a pro at this than I was, and it's Vermont. Everybody knows everybody up here. So you got to be really careful of what you say. But Peter would always go, "My God, I can't believe that property down on so-and-so street what sold for double or sold for triple." And that right there, without getting into the weeds, affects what is known as a CLA, which is a common level appraisal. And that number is done by the state. And let's just say it's 93. So if most of your appraisals come in at 93, you're doing okay. If they start going above that number into the hundreds, then something's off. And if it goes below, then something's off. So in this case, when the houses are being sold and the numbers are increasing into the hundreds, and a lot of them, that means the state takes a look at everything and goes, okay, we need to readjust, and something's wrong. So without getting into, again, more weeds, we're finding that the numbers have been high, which is because of the increase in property value. So we have to... Go ahead.
Is the run-up from folks moving from other places who now can find themselves able to work from anywhere? Are these folks who were Vermonters and maybe moved away for other reasons? Do you know who the folks are that are buying these properties?
It would be a speculation on my part, but we are seeing out-of-state people, a lot more for New York and New Jersey, actually, to tell you the truth. And being willing to pay, because there's a shortage. There's a shortage of property and houses. So they're willing to pay more and also buy land now that had been sitting around. So everything is getting snapped up. So, and with that, the real estate value has gone up.
Do you know folks in the building industry, have they seen an uptick in business because people need to change or improve their homes because they're there more often, or because they just bought a new one?
Yeah, that's another good question. Peter, who is one of the listeners I mentioned, is a builder. And his biggest... People are remodeling. People are adding on. But the biggest complaint that I hear Peter mentioning is getting building supplies. And that has just been a real challenge. And the cost of building supplies have just gone skyrocketing. And actually all the surrounding people that we visited, in measuring or doing our listing job, people have said, God, I can't get any insulation. I can't get siding. I can't get roofing, which has really put their projects on hold or, it's developing into a real hassle.
It sounds like Vermont is the same as everywhere else from what I've heard.
Yeah. Probably on a little smaller scale.
Yeah. I would say you and your colleagues brought the craft of magazine making and visual presentation to Fine Homebuilding, which I think many would agree, perhaps unfairly, you could characterize as a trade magazine. And those products are not normally noted for their engaging layout or graphic elements. Why was it important to you and your peers to make Fine Homebuilding and other Taunton products beautiful?
Well, it's taking pride in what you do. So let me see if I can put this. It's Taunton. So you did things the hard way. which meant there was no excuses. Everything had to be nice looking. It had to tell the story correctly. It had to be accurate. Had to be done on time. So you take all those things, all those ingredients, and you did the best you could, putting out something you'd be proud of, which was we were proud of that. And we.
Do you think that
I had a lot of help, so
Please.
it wasn't just me. Very talented people.
Do you think that Taunton is still focusing on the right things, given your experience with the changes in real estate and your own experience building what was a foreclosed dumpster of a house, as you described it?
I don't know how to answer that. I mean, you guys really watch the tea leaves or the wind changes in the building market more than I do. I think that you're still probably addressing it right on the right level that you're supposed to. So I guess that would be my answer to that.
Do you still pay attention to the magazine?
Yeah. Every now and then. I have to be honest, I was happy to retire.
I'm sure.
To worry about over 30 years, to worry about deadlines that seem to be that creep into your psyche. You just knew that something was looming that you had to take care of, and after a while, your internal clock would always, the alarm bell would ring, going, "Oh my God, got to get that done." Or you wake up in the middle of the night going, "Oh my God, we got to go to the printer tomorrow and haven't laid out something," and it turned out that wasn't true. You had everything done, but it does come with a certain amount of responsibility and stress. So it's nice not to have that anymore.
You and I talked, on the phone, and we were discussing now folks who work at Fine Homebuilding can work from anywhere. And you told me that you drove 51 miles each way every day, and that has got to weigh on your head at a point, right?
It would be, yes. There would be a Friday night. I'm going across this bridge. I'm on a 95, Route 95, which it can be horrible. And I would have to go across this one bridge. And because I lived where I was, it was a big corridor to go vacation areas. And it'd be a Friday night where there'd be an accident, and it would take me another 2 hours, 2.5, where I think, I'm a little ashamed to admit that, but I think I cried trying to get over that bridge when it's not moving. It's just, it wasn't fair after working all week and, more than just an 8-hour day. You're working late into the evening and then you go home and, so it was either the traffic or then it would be snowstorms that would just, white knuckle rides home.
I think you and I both understand why so many folks are hesitant to go back to the office after having the luxury of working from home for a year or two, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. It probably brings its own set of problems, but I would have preferred that than driving in every day. Yeah.
Sure. Maybe more than anyone else I've ever met, you have done a wide variety of stuff, building stairs and boats, working on cars, motorcycles, machinery. You've worked at Taunton and the National Geographic Society making magazines. You're a visual artist that works in several media. I think in art school, you told me one time that you were making fiberglass hood scoops with a friend in the art studio. The one unifying aspect in all of this would be that it's all hands-on and regular problem solving in the things you've done. Can you talk about that? Were you always a hands-on type person?
Yes. I think I can blame genetics. My grandfather on one side was an engineer, and on my father's side, who was also a phenomenal woodworker, incredible, and boat builder. And then there was a whole line of shipbuilders that came from Scotland to Nova Scotia and then down to New England. And then on the other side, on my mother's side, there was the art side. My grandfather was was an illustrator for the Saturday Evening Post. So I guess if you can put those two together, yeah, I was hands-on drawing, painting at the same time, getting hurt in the shop, blowing things up or making something and it bit me back or whatever. And I really enjoyed that, making something go or, touching something that hadn't run for years and making it work. And then that kind of moved out or moved into another medium of working with metal. I mean, I worked with wood for a very, very long period of time, to the point, in wooden boats and everything else, and always labor intensive. And it was refreshing to work in metal where, sure, it rusts, but, you could take something and weld it really quickly. And I really, really enjoyed that. I still do.
Do you still have your English wheel? Did that
Yes,
make the move to Vermont?
It did. It won't fit in the house. And I built a little studio here, and right now it's going to be picked up. It is huge, and it's being picked up and moved to another location, along with all my other welding and planishing hammers and all that stuff. So, yeah, I still have that.
You're setting up a studio in another facility? Are you renting this space, or is it a friend's space? How's that work?
Good question. It is my brother-in-law's auto body shop, and one of my brother-in-laws, and we've talked about it. We haven't come up with a price yet, but I figured it'll be cheap, hopefully. But he gets the chance to use my English wheel and all the planishing hammer. I mean, he doesn't use that stuff in a normal day-to-day operation. So he was.
And you trust him with your prized English wheel?
Oh, yeah. It's whether he trusts me to be in that shop space.
Folks like yourself and myself, I think we feel like a need to do stuff with our hands. Being in the, media business, I don't get as much time to do that as I may like. Did you ever feel like you didn't get enough time to pursue your hands-on creative parts of your life?
Oh, you always felt like you wanted to quit your day job and go, work for your passion or your hobby. So, yeah, sort of, but, got to pay the bills. But at the same time, got to put things in perspective and go to work every day and get a paycheck. But I think there was enough time in the shop to do what I needed to do. Also, I discussed with you about this, buying this place, but my other house that I bought, it was a labor of love, and it was a 1740 farmhouse that needed a lot of things. So for that period of time, when I came back from National Geographic, I had been working on that every weekend, almost, and every day maybe, doing something on it. And then it got worse when I was selling it and retiring, and then working on it, and it looked great after I was done. Why does that always happen? It looks great. And then you sell it, and you can't really appreciate it. But that took a lot of time. So working with my hand, I still got to do that every day. If it wasn't the weekend, it was trying to fix something when I got home.
I guess the question is, did you enjoy it in that environment, or was it drudgery to like work a 50-hour a week job and then go home and have to work on your house in the evenings and weekends?
Yeah, there was a little bit of swearing. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's sometimes you just like to put your feet up and go. In my case, go fly fishing. There was many times where I had friends down there that would go, Bob, we're going to go fly fishing today. You want to go? And you would have to say, no, I can't. You know, I got to go do this. I had to be responsible, which is not in my nature all the time.
Do you have thoughts on why we have such a shortage of skilled workers in this country?
I read that, and I was trying. Hi, Emmy. That's my dog.
Hey, Emmy.
She. You want to come up? Okay. No, we're not going. Hold on. I read that question, and I was trying to figure out how I could answer it. And when I was kind of quote looking, how am I going to make a living? What am I going to do? And I'm a product of the 60s and the 70s, where it was, in quote, being a hippie, it was a cool thing to work with your hands. And there was a lot of us that were building things. It was noble profession to build a house or build a boat. And I don't think that's there anymore, not as much as it used to be. I was very proud to tell people that I was either a boat builder or whatever. So I don't think you get that today. But in the fact that there's even more vocational schools than they were back then.
What do we do to fix that? I mean, I hear it nationwide in every trade, any trade or craft. There is not enough people to do it for the amount of work, at least right now. How do we fix that?
Great question. I'm gonna confess I don't really know. I know you guys have really started a lot of projects or programs
Initiatives, yeah.
Yeah, to do that. And, hats off to you guys. But short of doing that, I don't know what. It seems like the pool that you're recruiting from or or building trades can recruit from is a lot less than when I was, 20 years old, where, you just didn't want to be a suit. You wanted to do something different than your father did. And again, it was a noble profession to bang nails, to feel proud of that.
Did you get pushback from your family, and did your friends get pushback when they wanted to do, trade work or a hands-on career, go back to the land, whatever you want to call it?
Back to the land. I haven't heard that in a while. I think I still have some of that. I don't, I think that my father being in corporate always wanted, to have his sons do better than he did. So I think that there was questions and like a fair amount of disappointment for a while, and that kind of subsided. And then when I became an art director, which was, what do you really do again? I'm not sure. What is an art director? And I would explain it almost every Thanksgiving, and they still didn't have an idea. But anyways, they knew I was happy, and I think that's what mattered.
We haven't even talked about your primary job since you left Taunton, although you did allude to your interest in fly fishing. Can you tell me what you do part-time when you're not working on your own place or doing the work of a lister?
Yes, I enjoy this. Huge. It's a huge amount. I work at the American Museum of Fly Fishing, and it's in Manchester, Vermont, and it's a wonderful place. And I am at home and being kind of a guide, for lack of a better word. I man the desk there, but at the same time, I'll bring people around, give a little show and tell of some of the exhibits, and I feel right at home getting to talk about one of my favorite passions, which is fly fishing. I've been doing it long enough that I feel, well, you're never an expert, but you feel pretty good about it. And so and then you meet wonderful people.
I think you'd agree. We have many shared interests: motors, woodworking,
Right.
metalworking. Fly fishing is not among them. Can you please tell me what folks are looking at a fly fishing museum? What are the exhibits?
There are antique fly rods. There are many, many hundreds and hundreds of flies. There are a collection of old reels with, in contrast, a brand new 3D printed reel that actually works. So that's kind of neat. We, at this time, have a huge art exhibit donated to us, and it was anonymously, but we now know who it is. But it's probably the largest collection of fly fishing art under one roof in the U.S. So that's neat. We have a lot of people come in there, from experts that know all about fly fishing that actually tell me things, to people I have no idea, but I've always been interested. How do you do this? And how do you cast? How do you do that? So it's fun.
And folks come from all over the country to visit this museum. Am I right?
Oh, everywhere. Just the other day, I had two doctors from Chicago, and actually they were quite funny. They were out competing each other how much stuff they could buy to give away as gifts, because they were going fishing in Alaska. So it was a nice bill at the gift shop to ring them out. And but yeah, all over. So you have interesting characters. I had a neuroscience scientist yesterday, and then we ended up talking about the brain and the lateral nerves and of fish and sharks. So you never know. You never know. It's quite wild.
And ahead of the show, you told me it's not solely old white guys going to this museum, but you have programs for kids and stuff too, right?
Yes. Actually, this week, this month. So we just got through with fly tying lessons for kids, and we had fly casting lessons yesterday, which was it was a hoot. I had this I don't know, she might have been 7, and we showed them how to put the rod together and get it all, put the reel on and get it laced up. And then we went out to the pond, because we're right near Orvis, and they have a casting pond there, but they got, we had a little piece of yarn on their leader. They were tossing it to big 22-inch fish, and they were screaming when the trout came up to bump it. And then they were counting how many times that happened. And then, but there was this one little girl that I was teaching, developed out of nowhere this roll cast, which I'm going to say was almost as good as mine. It's a certain type of casting when you're in close, but I don't think she knew she was doing it, but I kept on going, oh my God. And she kept on putting that fly right on top of the nose of the trout, which she was so accurate. Anyways, it was amazing. So then we have next week is entomology, where they go out and collect bugs. And then there is something else which is escaping me at this time.
That sounds super fun. I think that is amazing.
I am
All
fortunate
right,
to
so we
have
talked.
a
So we talked.
job.
We talked a little bit about your house. It was a foreclosure. It had ruptured pipes. Uh, how is it now? Is it livable? Are you liking it?
Um, I think I mentioned that this was going to be my last do-over house. I've this place almost killed me, and in a way, literally. There was so much mold, and it had been sitting for over a year, and so the pipes had leaked. There was black mold everywhere, and was I diligent about wearing a mask all the time? No, I was too busy ripping stuff out and throwing it in the dumpster. And next thing I knew, I didn't feel well, and went down to the emergency room where the woman went, "You are really sick, and you have to go to the hospital." And then I said, "Okay, I'll drive myself." She goes, "No, you're not driving yourself down." So they got an ambulance for me. Next thing I know, I had a collapsed lung, I had pneumonia, I had a blood clot, and it was pretty serious. All from
And this was the mold.
just probably from the mold and working way too hard and getting myself exhausted because I thought I was still a 23-year-old guy, and hauling stuff out by myself, and overdid it, and did that for a while. I mean, I was trying to move in here, and all my stuff's in storage, and that's racking up a cost. And so I was motivated by stuff in storage and trying to get it. And I can't tell you how frustrating when all your tools are in storage and there's no way to get that. So you ended up buying sort of new tools. And then, so I have a lot of doubles of things. But anyways, finally got in and living here. So is it that far done? Yeah, it's close enough right now. I'm continuing this ongoing process. It's always something to do. And it's, yeah, I got a lot of the basics done, but it's far from being done that I'm used to.
We should tell folks about this style of home that you bought most recently, and it was my first home. So, in the late 60s, early 70s, probably into the 80s, there were a lot of folks either buying second homes in Vermont, or as we were talking about earlier, went back to the land and were making a go of it on their own little piece of heaven. Oftentimes, they're kind of junky, and you bought one of these, right?
I think that this was definitely a second home for somebody. The owners or the actual builders of this house still live across the street, and he's very proud of this place. And they were from New Jersey, and they bought this piece of land, and it was, I'm not going to say kit house, but it was a vacation home. It's got that ski chalet sloped. It's not an A-frame, but it's got sloped walls, and it also has. It doesn't come to a point. It comes to a kind of a gambrel roof. It does have the minimum pitch to put shingles on, and it is. Well, when I told people I bought this house, I said it's probably the ugliest house in Vermont. And it's now growing on me, and it doesn't look that bad after I went around and repaired, I would say, miles of rotted T111 and framing, and gave it a new coat of paint, which looks a little better. And I've had neighbors stop by, even the owner, going, "God, this place looks so good. Thank you." I really thought it was going to go into, they're going to tear it down or something. So they're very happy, and it does look good. It's amazing what flower boxes and some flowers and some fresh paint will make something look pretty good.
Do you have future projects in the pipeline?
Yeah, this house. I mean, I've still got to, finish, quote, the kitchen a little bit more, do a little more painting on the inside. This is ongoing. I'll be here for a while. But I have.
Well, it'll keep.
I have this new desire, which would be to sell, and then go buy a big RV and go fishing for 5 years out west. But I think I'll come to my senses pretty fast about that.
I hear the RV lifestyle is not as trouble-free and glamorous as the Instagram pages would have us believe.
I would say you're correct, but I would be so preoccupied with fly fishing, and especially out west, that it would be fine. It would be fine.
It has been such a pleasure talking to you, Bob Goodfellow. Is there anything you'd like to ask or tell our listeners before we go?
I guess tell you guys at Home Building, keep the faith, it's just, you're doing an amazing job as always. I know it was always a hard line to walk between a trade magazine and do it yourself plus a design magazine. And from what I've seen, you continue doing that. Your videos are great. I think that, and doing this all under COVID conditions, done an admirable job. It's been amazing. So hats off to you guys.
Thanks, man.
Well
I hope
done.
we can talk again, and you can tell me about the next chapter in your life, because if I know you, you're going to have something new to talk about the next time we see each other, even if it's in Zoom.
I might be out in Montana.
Well, I hope folks who listen to this who had questions for you will write in, and maybe we can answer other questions that I didn't ask in an email format or what have you, because I know there are things people want to know or have questions for you that they want to know your answers. So I hope they will.
I'll be around. I'm not going anywhere. Hopefully.
Well, unfortunately, that is all the time we have for today. Thanks to Bob Goodfellow for joining us, and thanks to all of you for listening. Please remember to send us your comments, questions, and suggestions to fhbpodcast@taunton.com, and please comment, review us. However you're listening, it helps other folks find our podcast. Stay safe, everybody. Keep craft alive. Happy building. Thanks a million, Bob.